Some of you are are new, so you may not know the answer yet, and that's okay. But what are you most looking forward to in 2024? It could truly just be our volunteer day for the first time, or something really specific. But we just kind of want to get the gears turning, looking ahead, moving forward into this upcoming year. What are you most looking forward to in regards to your city and what you guys are doing? So we're going to break out into some groups, and I'm giving you like 3 minutes here. So just answer each other real quick, and then we'll be back here in a second.
Hear that.
Yeah, it's
Well, let's talk, maybe if we can talk after the meeting here,
sure.
because I want to still, be a help to your city in every way possible.
I'd
Uh,
appreciate that. That would be great. Thank
listen,
you.
everybody else can have to listen in. But I do want to say this, and like you made a point there, I think everyone needs to hear, is you're right. There's something incredibly unifying about having a volunteer day where people from all different backgrounds, all different beliefs, all different walks of life, ages, everything can come together.
Yep.
And it does bring unity to a city where there's so much disunity today. It seems like in our world,
Yeah.
in our country, man, this year is going to be interesting. What
Yeah.
happens this year? But we all can agree on let's better our community, let's better our schools, let's better our, our parks and just our nonprofits and so I think that's one of the greatest side benefits that we didn't plan on. It just has happened in a lot of our cities, and we're seeing some unity,
Yeah.
people coming together. Hey, I want to address a question with y'all that Danielle posed to me. And it goes like this: how do we stay welcoming to all while keeping centered on our faith? Okay. So y'all know the history of Love Our Cities started out of a church. I was at a church trying to get people out of my church to get out in the community. There's so many needs in the community. We got to get out. We can't just stay inside the church. And and then all of a sudden people from outside the church started to join this volunteer experience, and people not coming to our church and people not going to church at all. And so we're like, this is amazing. Like, do we just keep this just for people in the church, or do we say, hey, if you want to help that school and we want to help the school, let's help the school together. We're going to be able to have a bigger impact here if we do it all together here, not negating who I am and my motivation, not negating my faith in any way. I think it's actually expanding it. And so, but there's an interesting tension there, isn't there? I don't know if y'all feel this in your cities, but like and I think it's a good tension, and I think it looks different for every city. Does that make sense? Like where I'm at is different than maybe where you're at, and how your volunteer day got started might be different than how ours got started. But I think one thing we do have in common, we say in obviously when you sign up as a contract, is that we do share a faith. We're a faith-based organization. That's who we are. But it can be expressed in different ways. When my friends last year from Washington, D.C. came out here, they observed Love Modesto, and they're like, man, it's so not what we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be like worshiping, singing, and we thought there were going to be all this preaching and and all this kind of external religious event, and it's not. We're more of a community-wide event. We invite the community so we don't bait and switch people when they get there. Our faith motivates us, but it's just a different method. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, there's different ways of doing things, not that they're right or wrong. And I think what I'm trying to share is I think I want to empower y'all. Like, you guys are in your cities. You know how to best highly impact your community. And you just don't want to have a minimum impact. You want to have the maximum impact. And so I think that's one of our values is we're the church doing this with the community, not the church doing it for the community. And however that looks in your city, I affirm you. For our city, if I'm super forward about my faith, the schools will not want to work with us. And neither will a lot of businesses, and neither will our city government or our county government. But if I'm, authentic in who I am and not hiding behind that and not ashamed of it in any way, just being real and using language, I think that's the key too. We have to use language that people understand. If when I worked at a church for 20 years, I had a lot of internal church language that I was using. Now that I've been outside for 10 years, I'm knowing how to communicate with people, and I'm learning to define my words rather than my religious words. I define my words, and I think people in the community understand those words. Yeah, so I think that's I think all of us have to wrestle with this a little bit. And it's kind of hard because it feels like, sometimes when I'm talking to churches, I can just talk to churches. Like that's my world that I came from, right? But when I'm in front of the Rotary Club, I'm not going to use the same language. I'm still going to be who I am, but I'm not going to use that same language because they're not going to understand what I'm saying. And they're going to be like, whoa, that's what this thing's about? Is this like some proselytizing organization? No, no, no. We just want to love our community like I believe that God loves our community. That's the whole heart behind this here. So, anyhow, I know this is like it's an interesting, I'd say it's not a battle. It's just like a tension. It's like we're on a tightrope a little bit, right? Trying to win as many people over as possible, and still staying true to who we are, but trying to have the biggest impact we can have. So that's my story. I don't know if that makes sense, or if I'm confusing anybody, but I felt like it's good to be addressed, because I think there is, I know there's been questions over the years, like, how do you do this and all that? That's how I do it. And I affirm and bless each one of you, how you do it. We're a big tent here. I think we're a big tent. However, if you're in Colorado Springs, it's going to look different than Ventura, California, or, whatever the city is. So.
Yeah. I think Jeff, as Jeff and I have kind of been talking about this and just kind of going into this year, what I have kept thinking about is truly, if you think about the letters that Paul wrote in the Bible, he addressed Corinth differently than he did Rome, and he addressed Timothy and Philemon differently. And so I think if that's how we look at our cities, and he did that because he knew them well enough to be able to address them in the way that would speak to their hearts. And so I think the challenge for us is how well do we know our cities, and is it well enough that we can speak to our cities and speak to the people where we can be both loving and also, hey, I challenge you in this, and be grace filled, and be able to, like Jeff said, I mean, have a big tent for people to feel like they are loved and they are welcomed. And so kind of in the next, we're going to take like 2 minutes here and just kind of do some personal reflection on you, on your city, on just kind of your city leaders, your team. And I'm just going to ask 2 questions. And there's no right or wrong answer. And we're not sharing them with the group here, but I do challenge you to share them with your team. Just kind of in this tension, in this question of how do we stay welcoming while still being centered on our faith. And so my first question for you guys, whether you take out a paper or pen or write it on your laptop or however you want to do it, is how do you think your city, your city as in love our cities, balances the two? So between faith and volunteering, or faith and service, however you want to word it. How do you guys balance it? Does it feel like it's a good balance? Does it feel like you need maybe more faith language, or maybe you need to do less? But I'll be quiet for a second, for like 20 seconds. You guys kind of write your thoughts down. We'll be back. All right. I think that's enough time. I don't know. Go back to it later if you need to. And then
go ahead, Danielle.
And then my second question is, is this something you want to grow in or challenge your team in? And how are you going to do that this year? All right.
Okay. So, hey, if you all want to pick this around a little bit more, Danielle and I, we're going to be on the call afterwards as well. So would love to, we're all learning together, we're all growing together. We're just trying to be the best we can together. So, but feel free if you want to talk more, we're available. That's why we're here. I want to do this. If you go to the chat, I put in 2024 Love Our Cities goals. So for Love Our Cities, these are the goals that I've kind of outlined and shared with our board. And so here they are. And right now we're working really hard on having a 3-year strategic plan. And then we want to have it in place here, hopefully for the next month. Like this is our strategic plan. And then I want to have a 10-year too, by the way. But for right now, we're really focusing on the next 3 years. We want to have our board strengthened. So we're going to be adding hopefully 3 board members here by the middle of this year. That's the goal. What we're looking for in board members, just so you know, Love Our City board members, is obviously sharing our faith, involved and passionate about community transformation. We're looking for people with influence, well-networked connections to help us to get more cities to join Love Our Cities, access to funding opportunities and connections to those who do. We're talking about national funding opportunities. One or more we need both genders represented and different ethnic backgrounds represented as well. Super, super important to us. And people all over the world and people from our country. I mean, we're not just looking at people from California. I mean, we have enough people from California. We want to really expand in that way. Another goal here is our staff team, Danielle, Dave, John, Bonnie, myself. We want to strengthen our team. We want to continue to grow together and really, hit all cylinders. Volunteer Central, I've shared with you all this over time. The app, I've got a first draft of the app. I've got some documents. I'm meeting with nonprofit leaders today. The goal is by October 31, I'm ready to give this to you all and say, run with it. This is your volunteering year-round in your community. 15 new active cities. Right now we have over 80 cities that are interested. So trying to bring the 15 across the line here, hopefully more. We want to grow our golf tournament auction. That's kind of our big fundraiser. So we want to grow that by 10%. Every year we continue to grow that. We want to engage at least 10 new potential donors or grants. We need funding to make this thing happen and to grow. And then continue to grow our media presence. Last year it grew tremendously and we want to continue to grow it. Social media, our newsletter, website, videos, and things like that. So that's kind of Love Our Cities. So what I want to challenge you all is in your city, what are your goals? Do you have goals written down like this for Love Lodi, for Love Orange and Anaheim and Fullerton and all the cities? Do you have some goals that you have for this year? So Danielle, how are we going to do this?
I'm gonna ask a few questions.
Okay.
And then we will do some breakout rooms and you guys can actually share some of those goals. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. These could be as simple, but I challenge you to dream big this year. So I'm just gonna ask a couple questions that I've got jotted down that I could think of to kind of help get the juices flowing thinking about it. So my first question is, do you have the right people on your team? Are you missing anyone? Who could you add? And these could be your like upper leadership team or maybe a social media person or something kind of like that. My next question, do you feel, oh, did I go too fast? uh, where, or do you feel okay where where you are at financially? How can you brainstorm more revenue and have more consistent support? So maybe there's a church you want to go after, or a business, a group of people. Third is, what do you want your team to look like a year from now? And I realize some of you you're not necessarily the city leader, but your voice still counts in this. What do you want to see your team looking like a year from now? And then lastly, what do you want your city to look like a year from now?
Mhm.
I will throw those in the chat. I know I've given you just a few seconds to kind of think about it, but I'll throw those in the chat, and then we can go into our breakout rooms and you guys can talk about those. We'll have about 10 minutes, so a couple minutes for each of you to kind of share, maybe choose one or two of those questions that you want to share. And then we'll come back here.
All right, everyone should be jumping in here real soon.
Mute. Yes. Sorry, everybody. No, I think just going from that, it's just really important to think about those goals, to think about, hey, what are we doing this next year? And again, some of us, this is our first time ever. Some of us, we've been doing it for 15 years. Jeff, we can't all be you, but it's okay.
You don't want to be me.
But really kind of our group just started talking about how when you bring maybe your ideas to your team, to be open and saying, hey, you know, what are your thoughts on this? And not just saying, these are mine, let's do this and run with it, but really getting, you know, your team together and saying, how can we best love our cities? And so I'm really looking forward to this year. I hope you guys are. I hope that this kind of really got your brain thinking as far as maybe some of the goals that need to be set, maybe the things that you feel are going really well, and that's great. That's awesome. But really kind of challenge you to think through those questions that we asked, and maybe think of a few more to bring to your team, to bring to just your own brain, and really challenge you to go into this year expecting to see things happen, to see your cities loved on, to see more volunteers, to see finances like you've never seen before, all of the things. But I think that's kind of it for today's meeting. Or no, we've got.
I got a couple things here.
Yes.
The number one,
things.
in the chat, can you put down the date of your volunteer day or days that you're going to be doing this year? If you don't know yet, that's totally cool. Or maybe even put in there, if you can, hey, we don't know yet. Here's my city, and we don't know the date yet. But we're thinking spring or fall or something like that. But if you know the exact date, that'd be super helpful to us. Our next volunteer day coming up is in Escondido. Love Escondido is February, beginning of February. Remember what it is, Danielle?
I do not know.
loveesco.org. You'll see their website's awesome. You see all their by the way, if you want to see a kind of a city and how they're putting their projects together, loveesco.org. Click on their project button, you'll see their projects. And it's really cool to see. They got some really great projects too. So loveesco.org. Okay, so yeah, if you know your dates, put them in the chat. That'd be super helpful. And then Danielle.
I totally forgot about this.
Okay. Danielle is having a baby, y'all. We're having a number one baby coming. And so Danielle's going to be going on maternity leave in March, whenever baby decides to come. And then through May, she'll be on maternity leave. So she's going to be helping out, obviously, up until baby comes, and she's going to be back after baby comes. But during that time, Jamie, Jamie from Love Orange, she's gonna step in and be a help to us. And mainly what focus on website needs, being that a lot of us have volunteer days in the spring. Jamie's been doing this for a while, and she knows how to navigate our website and all the different issues. We're not perfect. No one knows it perfectly, but I'm super confident in Jamie be able to help out on then. But before Jamie steps in, Danielle, share what you're going to be offering here. If we need a refresher on our website.
Yes.
Maybe it's been
Yep.
a little bit since you've been on it, so go for it.
Yep. So I think two things. So number one, I really would appreciate if you guys got on your websites. Maybe you haven't gone on there in a while, but just kind of poke around, see if you remember how to add a project and add a volunteer. Some of you who did your spring volunteer day, you did it, and then you've not touched your website. And so for my brain and your brain, make sure you get on there and you start kind of poking around and making sure, okay, I remember this, I don't remember that. And then on February 8th, and so which is a Thursday, February 8th, we're gonna do kind of a refresher course. So we'll do a morning and we'll do an evening one, just because some of you can't make it to the morning, some of you can only make it to the evening. And we'll be sending those times out, but just kind of a refresher course before I go, to make sure everyone feels like, okay, yeah, I remember how to do this, and feel pretty good about it. It'll leave Jamie feeling even better about it. But so those two things, look on your website, make sure you kind of remember how to do things. And then secondly, we will have a refresher Zoom call with me. So bring your questions and we'll kind of just walk through that and make sure everyone feels really good about going into the spring. So that's
Very
what I got.
Awesome. Well, again, we just want to make sure this website stuff, some of us, it comes naturally. Some of us, including me, it doesn't so much. And so I need all the refreshers and time I can get. Once I get it down, it's great. But we just want to make sure we're helping you guys the best we can. Don't wait to the last minute. It's January. If you have a volunteer day in April or May, you need to get going now. Like, it's go time. To get projects together, to get everything, to get, familiarize your website, update your website, make sure it's all updated. The right date is on your website, not last year's date, but make sure that everything's updated. Let's look professional. Let's get ready for our community to come together again here. Okay, that is it. Can I pray to send us off? God, thank you for our day. Thank you for just our cities, and thank you for how much you love our cities and you want us to love our cities like you do too. And thank you for my friends and all that they're doing and the difference they're making in their cities. God, lead us into 2024. In your name, amen. All right. Have a good day, y'all. Danielle are going to stay on if you'd like to stay on.